today the government has presented us the reality, and we concede to many of their points, but they have conveniently left out a lot about the reality of online gaming, and it is time for us to face this inconvenient truth. So, the inconvenient truth about gaming, ladies and gentlemen, is that it is an addiction, and addicts will do anything whatsoever to continue getting that sort of benefit from where they are addicted. So, Korean online games allow multiple IDs, and also there is an illegal cash trade market for online games. So, the government has to prove that their policy will somehow eradicate this problem, because under their policy, online gamers can simply just, use multiple IDs or even go on multiple games. You don't have to play game A for 24 hours. You can play game A, B, C, D, etc. So, the government's policy is not adequately supported. So, now, with that being said, the opposition will now go on to our constructive case. So, basically, in the problem of the status quo, we want to eradicate this problem as well. But we believe that the stamina system is incomplete and it is too inadequate to deal with the situation correctly. So, our alternate model is to offer counseling to these users who have reported voluntarily or by the consent of the family or friends, and in the real world instead of in the online gaming world. Because their problems happen here in the real world, ladies and gentlemen, not on the online world. So is that really the only thing the government can do? Should the government just stop there and just avoid everything else? So we have 4 points today to support this view. Now, the first point is about that it's too much of an infringement upon the freedom of action. Second, the government's idea will bring grave economic consequences here in the Republic of Korea. Third, it will actually worsen the black market problem. And fourth, it will not be effective in curing addictions. So, I will discuss the first 2 points, and the Deputy Prime Minister will discuss the remaining 2 points. So, now, going on to my substantive points. First point, it's too much of an infringement upon the freedom of action because, no thank you, according to the Supreme Court of the Republic of Korea, the Articles 12 through 14 of the Constitution of the Republic stipulate a freedom of action. So, we have a freedom of action. No thank you. You're free to drink. You're free to smoke. You're free as long as you do not harm anybody else. This is called primum non nocere, which is Latin for first of all, do not harm. So, this is a core principle of all legal systems in known countries. And ladies and gentlemen, we have this very basic freedom of action. Now, so what is the case at hand here? We have addicts, we have alcoholic addicts, we have smoking addicts, we have cigarette addicts, and we have game addicts. And is there a reason to discriminate between these 2 groups? Basically, the government is only going to discriminate against online gaming users, and they're only going to forbid the use of online gaming, whereas they're just simply going to let alcohol users consume whatever amount of alcohol you do, and Koreans do indeed drink a lot of alcohol. And moreover, cigarettes is the same thing. They're not going to place a limit on cigarettes. Yes?
Under your plan, aren't you thinking only about the aftermath, treating people that are already addicts, whereas we're preventing addicts from actually happening in the first place?
That will be discussed later on in our points. So, now, ladies and gentlemen, basically, this is an issue of discrimination, and the Korean Constitutional Court has a model of deciding what, in order for a freedom to be limited, you have to meet 4 conditions. No. So, basically, the 4 conditions are this. 1, there has to be a justifiable object to this. But is there a justifiable object to discriminating only online gaming users? I do not think so. 2, adequate measures. Is this really an adequate measure? This is only a very basic, simple, naive approach to the problem that cannot adequately deal with the situation. 3rd, there has to be minimal infringement upon the freedom. But this is a fundamental infringement upon the core of the freedom, because the freedom of action is basically about your being free to do whatever you want, as long as it does not harm others. Yes?
How can you say it's not harming others when people are killing other people because they can't defer?
Okay, I think you're talking about the baby case, and that, of course, in that case, we have to analyze the situation a little differently. But basically, the situation for most online gamers is that they do not harm anybody. So, in this case, should we just, just group them up into this and then just subject them to this sort of great group discrimination? I do not think so. So, and the fourth model is basically a balance of legal objectives. You have to achieve a balance between the two legal objectives that are here. In this case, the freedom of action and also social justice. But ladies and gentlemen, in this case, there isn't a balance because freedom of action is being completely ignored by the government. No. So, now, moving on to my second point. The second point is about the grave economic consequences the government's plan will bring. Now, basically, the game industry in the Republic of Korea constitutes a large portion of the economy. No. So, now, in this game industry, most companies are online gaming companies, and their profit model is by using long gameplay and many users so that the users will acquire game money to buy game swords or basically all these things in the game. But if we implement their plan, basically there's only going to be a limited time. That's not going to be enough to fulfill much in this online gaming world. So users will lose interest, and they will have two options. Basically, turn into the black market to get cash items that you could get for real cash, or they'll leave the game entirely because online gaming needs a lot of time into that. And if you just limit it, basically you can't achieve anything in this world. So they'll just lose interest and leave. And so, in either way, if they turn to the black market or if they leave, the company cannot make money because they're not selling it to users and users are leaving anyway. So, under their current profit model, companies cannot make any profit. And so, that leads to less users. And ultimately, they mentioned the idea of PC rooms, and that they conceded that PC rooms are mostly supported by game users. And game users will not go to PC rooms as well. And PC rooms are also a strong part of the Korean economy. And this will adversely affect the Korean economy as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, in all these aspects, the government's plan cannot simply work, and it only brings all these harms to our society. So, should this decision stand? I do not think so, and that is why we're proud to oppose.